Hey guys, it's me! That guy with a name that no one can remember, know how to pronounce, or spell correctly. It's John with the H before the O, okay? It's not that hard! So let's get to the meat of this video. As a spy, we have the great privilege of having very balanced weapons, or mostly balanced. Damn it back. Especially when it comes to the knives. All the spy's knives are brilliantly balanced to be equally good, but they also change your playstyle. All these knives make you play differently and has different strengths and weaknesses. This is really impressive. Spy is a hard class to balance since he's so special, so it's amazing that Valve has done such a great job making him balanced and fun to play. This is what I want to talk about today. Today, I'm gonna explain the stats of all these brilliant knives and the playstyles they encourage you to use. I will also talk about what knife is the best in what situation, how you can find a knife that fits with your playstyle. Remember to leave a comment below if you have some extra tips or some criticism or basically anything regarding the video or the topic. Other than that, I think we should get this party started. Lenny, roll the intro.
With my apologies.
So there's 5 knives in the game, not counting all the reskins of course, and so we have to start somewhere. We can start with the classic stock knife. I actually made a straw poll asking people on TF2 subreddit what knife they use the most, and the stock knife won with nearly 600 votes. So why would someone choose the stock knife? Well, as we all know when it comes to stats in TF2 is that it gives weapon benefits and penalties to make them different from each other. If the other knives have penalties that you find make them not work in a specific situation, or you want the normal playstyle of the stock knife, it's the perfect weapon for you. So the appeal of the stock knife is not having those penalties. The stock knife has also been designed to be flexible for all situations, since it is the original knife. This knife is very open for different playstyles and can work with most watches and pistols, though I prefer to use an ambassador or default pistol and an invert watch, basically playing more as the class originally intended for the spy. Though again, the beauty of this knife is that any combination can work. If you don't find the other knife stats appealing to you, and you want something that you know you can rely on, the stock knife is for you. Oh, and you can get Australians and skins for this weapon, which is a plus for me. Next up is the Spicycle. This weapon is a tricky one. So firstly, the benefits of this weapon is when you are hit by fire, you're fireproof for 1 second, and you're immune to the afterburn for 10 seconds. The trick is that when you get hit by fire, your knife cannot be used in 15 seconds. This time can be sped up by picking up ammunition though. So basically, the question you need to ask yourself is it worth it for you to get that fire immunity for 1 second, afterburn immunity for 10 seconds, but that you lose your knife until it regenerates? If the answer is yes, then congrats, the Spicycle is for you. If the answer is no, this weapon is probably just a downgrade for you. I experienced multiple times while recording footage for this weapon, moments where I died because I couldn't stair stab the enemy pyro. But if you don't want to interact with the pyros and you want them to not have such an advantage over you, this one can save your skin in some situations. I definitely felt like I survived more fights with my life intact while using this weapon. The problem was though that it was so time consuming to wait for the meter to get to 100% so I could use my knife again. Now for the load of this weapon, I highly recommend using the invert watch. By going invisible when you're hit by fire, you can get away from the pyro before he gets you. With the dead ringer, it already has afterburn immunity when you're hit by damage, and it also triggers both the Spicycle and the dead ringer at the same time if you're both drawn. This is a waste of your Spicycle. If you want to use the dead ring, remember to not have your Spicycle drawn when you want to fake your own death via a hit from the flamethrower. This weapon is really tricky to use, but it can be really useful to hold you alive. But I'm not really one who uses it very often, though it can be very powerful in the right hands. Oh, and it leaves statues of dead enemies. This can potentially create paranoia, which is of course always good for a spy. Next on the list of sharp, deadly weapons that will totally make you paranoid 24/7 is the Big Earner. The Big Earner was originally, as you guys probably remember if you're a bit older player, which means players who have played before the gunmetal update, a horrible weapon only giving you extra cloak time when you got a backstab. This was only good on paper though, and sucked in game. Now, after the gunmetal update, it's one of my favorite knives. The stats of the Big Earner are pretty simple. Every time you get a kill with a knife, you get a small speed boost and 30% of your cloak meter is refilled. But the penalty is that you have max health of 100 instead of 125. Now, the thing that is great about the Big Earner is that small speed boost. This is because the speed boost gives you the chance of getting crazy chain stabs. This extra boost to catch up to faster enemies like scouts and to stab people faster than they can react and give you so many new options. It also makes trick stabs easier to perform and makes it so you can stab those irritating turning heavies. Now, the penalty of less max health is not as bad as you may think. This is only 20% of your original max health, which really doesn't make a big difference. Though you do experience a moment here and there where you get killed by a scout or soldier, where you wonder if you would have survived with a stock knife instead. For the beginner, no specific watch is recommended. The Dead Ringer and the Inward Watch are both great candidates, but since I am an Inward Watch spy and I will always be one, I of course use the Inward Watch with this knife. Actually, now that I think about it, all knives. But basically, if you can use that extra speed boost to get chain stabs and you're fine with being more vulnerable to enemies, this knife is maybe just what you need. So now let's talk about the Carnivor's Kunai. This weapon is probably the most challenging one to master. On a backstab, the Kunai absorbs the enemy's health with a minimum gain of 75 health. This means that if your victim has less health than 75, you just gain 75 health. But you gain more health if they have more health. The backstabber of the Kunai can overheal you up to 300% of your max health capacity, which means you can have a maximum of 210 health. So stabbing a healthy hit can give you 210 health on one stab. The health decreases very slowly back to the maximum health thereafter. But now comes the catch. This knife gives you a maximum of 70 health instead of the default of 125. This means that you have a lot of problems getting that first stab because of how vulnerable you are to incoming damage. This knife fits most with spies who likes the risk and reward of being rewarded when stabbing enemies but punished if you're not careful enough. This also makes it not very beginner friendly for obvious reasons. I personally feel like I'm either incredibly overpowered, even getting close to godlike kill streaks one time, or I feel like I'm getting one-hitted all the fucking time. This weapon is best used on a map with not a lot of choke points, and a team with not too many NGs. So basically not recommended on Badwater, especially not in the last part of the map. That last choke point can really be deadly sometimes. The Dead Ringer can help you a lot with staying alive and is a good choice, though as already said, I have a tendency of using the Inward Watch. Basically, there's no specific loadout I recommend with this knife, just try things out and see what fits with your playing style. With the Inward Watch, I stay low and I get the first stab. After that, I can be more aggressive in my play and take a lot more risks. If you're an experienced spy or want a challenge that rewards you for playing well, you might want to try out this black weapon of death. Oh, it's a fucking kunai! Need I say more? So we have come to the last knife, called your eternal reward. This knife is the most gameplay changing knife of them all. The Eternal Reward changes the way you disguise by removing your disguise kit. The thing it does instead is that every time you backstab an enemy, that enemy's body disappears and you disguise into that player. You also have no stabbing sound at all and your disguise is instant and has no smoke particle effects at all. When stabbing an enemy, sentries also stop targeting you instantly. This means your Eternal Reward is great for taking down sentries and great for chain stabbing. But like the Kunai, it's also about that first stab since you're vulnerable until you have stabbed someone and you have gotten their disguise. I recommend using this knife together with the Inward Watch since you need to be silent and get that first stab. Not only that, but if you get a slow disguise like a heavier soldier, you can go invisible, which will give you the default speed of the spy. But if you want to be a real Eternal Reward user, you need to use the these fucking names, this one, and of course the familiar fizz. But generally this knife is not used much because of its requirements, which will scare off a lot of spies. But it is a very useful knife in some situations and it definitely has its moments. I highly recommend giving it a go just because it's really fun to play with. It really just challenges you in a new different way that the other knives don't. So that's all the spy knives. Of course I didn't include the reskins because they have nothing new to add other than looking cool, of course. If you enjoyed this video, consider pressing that subscribe button. It's the red one. It's pretty neat. Just press that one. Also remember to read this video and of course share your opinion about the video or the topic of the video in the comment section. I have some more links that would maybe interest you in the description, by the way. But honestly, who really reads those anyway, am I right? Oh, and join my Steam group. But other than that, have a great day and go out there and stab people in the game, of course. I mean, you can stab people in real life, but you'll probably go to prison. Just saying. See ya. Lenny, roll the outro.